Greetings, my name's Scott, and today I'm gonna talk about the advantages of the 1DX. Why, we could title this, Why Do I Like My 1D? Now, I know that there's a big long review on the Amazon.com website by S. Meyer, a wedding photographer who has had some really poor experiences with his 1D, with the autofocus freezing up and doing all kinds of crazy stuff like that to him. So first off, what I want to do is I want to talk about why that might be happening, and I'm not sure if you can see this or not. I'm going to go ahead and just flip the camera on, and I'm going to try to do this in reverse if I can. You know what? I'm going to just flip the camera around. So as you can see in the menu system on the back of the camera, there's a couple of items here that can detrimentally affect your ability to autofocus. Now, this one right here, the EOS intelligent tracking, that's on right now. And I haven't experimented with that turned off, but my guess is that when that's turned on, it's going to be trying to do a lot more work than when it's turned off. And this one right here, this one I know can cause some severe problems when it's used. So what I thought would be cool is if when autofocus became hard, like when I'm trying to autofocus on something and for some reason I can't autofocus, I kind of just wanted to take the picture anyway. Even if it was a little blurry, that didn't really matter to me as much, or maybe I could go into manual focus mode. What this will do is this will turn, at least on this camera with the service pack that I have on it, or the firmware update, it turns off the autofocus completely, and nothing short of just waiting will turn it back on again. So this would happen, I would turn my camera off, I'd turn it on again, it would still not work, I'd turn my camera off, I'd take the lens off, put the lens back on. And by the time I'd gone through all that, taking the battery out and doing all that stuff, I think it had timed out and it would just start to work again. I'm not positive that's the problem that other people are experiencing with their camera, but I was definitely really unhappy with the way the autofocus was performing when I had this set to off. There's some other stuff, some other items in here, but suffice it to say, you got to be pretty careful when you're tampering with any of these menu settings. You got to really know what they're going to do and what the result is, and just change one setting at a time and then go play with it. Don't monkey with it before you have an important shoot to do. So today I'm talking about my Canon 1DX and talking about some of the different things that I like about it. And I actually do like the fact that these are buttons here now and not a wheel. It's a little quicker now to be able to set things like the drive and the metering. It's a little easier. And when this was here before, it was just yet one more dial that I would bump and screw up my settings. There is the lock feature on this camera. I'm not sure if the 5D Mark III has that or not, but you set it to lock and then things won't get bumped. In the same vein as these buttons being convenient, these buttons down here for the I'm just going to go ahead and hit the light on this. And these buttons are useful too, but I actually one time accidentally bumped that one, and then I must have bumped something else too, because I got bumped into small JPEG mode. Just a bump here, and then a bump there, and I was in JPEG mode, and I shot that way for quite a while before noticing what was going on. And I think that's it for gotchas with the layout of the camera. The battery is incredibly long-lasting compared to my old Mark D1. This battery will shoot way outshoot that one. And let's turn that off. And here's another thing I like. Okay, so I shoot with a lot. I'm out shooting with my the 400 DO lens, 400mm DO, and I used the 2x with that, and it's actually been very good to me. At the very beginning, it wasn't. It was horrible because you couldn't autofocus with these two together on this camera. But then Canon did release a fix to that. Let me point this camera thing outside. We can take a look at that. How that works. And right now, you can see I can select these autofocus points, and there we go. It's focuses. So I do a lot of bird photography. Oh, my son is a very avid birder, and I'm kind of like his photographer, and we go out and we try to get good pictures of birds and their behavior and what they're doing, and try to count them and stuff like that. And this is the lens that I'm using. I'm using the EF 400mm DO diffractive optics. I really like this lens. I think it's great. But 400mm isn't always good enough. Now, when I first bought the camera, I asked the cameraman if the 400 would work with my 2x, and they said, yeah, it would work, but you don't get autofocus. So I was like, okay, and I went out shooting for a weekend, and I did use the 2x, and I lost a lot of shots. I got a lot of good shots, but I missed a lot of shots too, because I'm just not that good with manual focus. Now, shortly after that, Canon came out with a firmware update. I think it's 1.1.1 for the 1DX that fixes that. And as you'll see here, let's just go ahead and take a quick look through the viewfinder here. And let me just move this over a little bit. All right, and you can see. There we go. And you can't really see which ones I've got set there, so let me go ahead and hit this button, and maybe now you can see that. Let me go ahead and focus this on. Let me just loosen that a little bit and come up with it. That's a lens flare from my work light here, actually, that you're seeing. And on my iPhone, maybe now you can see that a little better. There you go. You can see I've got just the 4 spots there, but now I have this ability to walk through these different I think there's 3 or 4 different modes of focus here. I like this one. I think this one gives me the best, widest field of view for when I'm shooting birds. If you really want to get real tight on something, then the other one will work fine. You know, and here's another thing too, for people that keep saying that they don't get this option, that they don't see what their autofocus point is. I'm not really sure that if you don't know where the center of your camera is, you know, yeah, it doesn't light up unless you get. I don't know what that complaint's all about. I've seen it a few places. I don't have any trouble with that. Generally speaking, I know where my autofocus point is, and if I get locked, you'll see that I have this red flash set, so the whole thing flashes red. Really nice like that when I've achieved lock. And I don't really have any complaints about the autofocus on this camera. In fact, I kind of think it's really good. Whoops. This is where I need that third arm that I'm always complaining about not having, or that better lens mount. Alright, so that's... Oh, you know what? I'll tell you what. Here's... Ethan, you need to come over here. What? Just come over here and hold the camera. I'm trying to adjust it and I can't do it with... Oh, you know what? I'll just do this. Here we go. There you go.
Did you fix it?
No, not really.
You need to do something?
Say something interesting.
Hi, my name's Ethan. What's your name? I probably don't know. Because you can't
There
do
we go.
anything
All right,
about that.
stop talking. You're not funny.
Hey.
All right, and let's lock that up. And what was I going to say? Where was I?
I think I know.
Oh, I know.
wait.
Right. So what's the big problem I have? So look on the bottom of the camera. All right, so come here, Ethan. Take a look at this. This is what I was telling you about the other day. This is what makes me absolutely crazy.
Yes.
So when I come around here, look, you can see right here. You see on the my recollection is that on the 5D, my meter was across the bottom. And now on the bottom I have all this information, and the meter's off on the right side. And because I wear glasses, when I have my eye up against the viewfinder, I don't always look to the right. So sometimes what can happen is I can get to bumping this thing and not being in locked mode, right? And when I get to bumping that thing, when I get to winding this and winding that down, what this will do is this will, well, in certain modes, there we go. See, this will cause the exposure to crank. You can just crank all the way for as long as you like, and it can be all messed up. And then you'll start shooting, and you'll see when you're shooting, what you'll see is that in that center is that there's a kind of a brighter spot, and that's really all I notice. You know, that's more about me though. Not really. I wouldn't blame the camera for that one. Would you blame the camera for that one?
Maybe.
I don't. I blame me, and I'll get over that sooner or later. But for the meantime, I'm shooting with the 2X a lot with the 400, and I'm liking it. The quality of images is absolutely fantastic. I'm not getting any fringing or anything like that at all. When I use this lens, when I use the 2X with my other lens, this guy, here, pull that off gently. There we go. When I use that with this, whatever this thing is, it's like a 70 to 200 2.8L lens. Horrible fringing. Get a lot of blue silhouettes on things that just don't work so great. If I think of more stuff, I'll post it later. The second digit processor that this has is responsible 100% for all things autofocus related, and there's the new, I think it's a new 1 megapixel RGB sensor that this 5D doesn't have. That's good too. But this camera is absolutely fantastic for tracking on birds, and I get some really great shots of the kids too. They never get out of focus, and when I do sports events, it's unparalleled in my opinion. So one final note about the Canon 1D. There are occasions in low light or difficult focusing situations where it won't achieve focus. It will just go back and forth endlessly. And
You're still doing your video?
yeah, I'm still doing my video. And what you have to do is you have to get good at flipping your camera lens into manual focus and just dealing with it. Because after shooting with the 5D I shot with the 5D for 6 years, and before that I shot with some other prosumer cameras since I think I got my first Canon SLR in 1998. It was a film SLR, and then I went to digital shortly after that. And though I don't miss those days. I don't miss my 5D Mark I at all. It was horrible when it came to autofocus. There were so many blown shots, so many missed shots, and I have so many more great shots that I haven't missed with this camera. I can't complain about the autofocus. I can't. Not consciously, anyway. All right. Thanks.